Okay, this is lesson 6.7, and this is about trig ratios and our introduction into SOHCAHTOA. This lesson is going to be split into two parts. In the first part, we're going to introduce what SOHCAHTOA is, and in the second part, we're going to solve for some sides using SOHCAHTOA. So, what is SOHCAHTOA? Well, a little hint is it refers partially to those important ratios we looked at in the last lesson. The O over H, the A over H, and the O over A ratios. And if we remember, those letters mean something. O stands for opposite over hypotenuse, H. That's our first ratio, O over H. And then we have A over H, and again, H stands for hypotenuse. And A stands for adjacent, which means next to. And then finally, O over A was our last ratio, O standing for opposite, and A standing for adjacent. So now you get to see what these ratios mean. Well, on your calculator, you may have noticed at some point 3 buttons: sin, cos, tan. SIN, COS, TAN. Well, the sin, cos, and tan buttons stand for sine, cosine, and tangent. This SIN button is for sine. That's your sin button. Your cos button stands for cosine. And your tan button stands for tangent. So what's so important about sin, cos, and tan? Well, sine compares two sides. It compares the opposite side and the hypotenuse side. In fact, if we took sine of an angle, let's say this angle, it would equal the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse side. The cosine compares the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. So it's the A over H ratio. So if we took the cosine button of our angle, we would get the same answer as doing adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And finally, tan compares opposite and adjacent, O and A. So if we took tan button of our angle, we would get the exact same thing as doing the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. So what's this mean? Well, if we put all this together, sin or sine, S, is opposite over hypotenuse. And let's look here. Sine starts with an S, opposite starts with an O, hypotenuse starts with an H. S-O-H. Cosine starts with a C, and it's equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. A for adjacent, H for hypotenuse, C-A-H. And finally, T for tangent is opposite O over adjacent A. T-O-A. Put that together and what you get is SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. And what SOHCAHTOA allows you to do is SOHCAHTOA allows you to solve for sides and angles in right angle triangles. And it's a way to remember that sine of an angle is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. And to prove it, I have a triangle. So we're not going to do this practice at the bottom here. But what we are going to do is this example here. Use your calculator to find the value of the three trig ratios for the given angle. Well, sine 53. So in a calculator, we're going to take our calculator. We're going to make sure the mode at the top says D or DEG. If it doesn't, reset your calculator and it will put it in D or DEG mode. Now we're going to press sine and then we're going to type 53. Hit equals and we get 0.798, which I'm going to round to one decimal place, 0.8. Now we're going to do cos 53, cos button 53 equals 0.60, so I'll round that to 0.6. And finally tan 53, we get 1.33. I'll just round it to 1.3. I'll write 1.33. And there we go. 0.8, 0.6, 1.33. Now, if we remember what we just did above, the SOHCAHTOA, sine of this angle is supposed to be equal to opposite divided by hypotenuse. Well, opposite, 53, would be over here. Hypotenuse is across from the 90, and adjacent is the side that touches the angle. Well, opposite would be 4, and hypotenuse would be 5. 4 divided by 5 in a calculator is 0.8. And if you look, sine 53 gives you the exact same thing as O over H. Let's try cos. Cos, C, goes with A and H, adjacent over hypotenuse. A is 3, H is 5, 3 over 5. 3 divided by 5 is 0.6. Look at that. Cos 53 gave us 0.6. 3 over 5 is 0.6. Finally, tan 53. Tan 53 would be O over A. Tan is O over A. So O is 4, A is 3, 4 over 3. If I do that in my calculator, I get 1.33, which is the exact same thing as tan 53. So all this is doing is illustrating the point that if you use sine, cos, or tan of an angle, it'll equal the fraction's a bad word, the ratio of the two sides that correspond to sine, cos, or tan. Sine is O over H, cos is A over H, and tan is O over A. And in the second part of this video, we're going to take advantage of this SOHCAHTOA to solve for some sides. So I'll see you in part 2.